The honourable member for Truro, Bible Hill, Millbrook, Salmon River.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Glad to see some enthusiasm over there for change. I am pleased to rise to speak to Bill 177, the amendments, and also to the hoist motion. We also agree with this hoist motion because we too feel that more work needs to be done on this bill. We have concerns, Mr. Speaker, actually, about the bill. The Municipal Government Act is currently undergoing a review, which is expected to be completed in the spring of 2017. And the Department of Municipal Affairs is in the process of negotiating a collaborative agreement with the Union of Nova Scotia Municipalities. So we'd like to know why the government is making a number of small amendments to the Act before these other processes are actually complete. We feel it's another example of government taking action without adequate and meaningful engagement with the stakeholders. And these amendments will result in municipalities actually competing with each other for commercial development. Government, we feel, is again actually picking winners and losers, because this creates two classes of commercial ownership, some with preferential property tax rates. And in fact, I have to point out, Mr. Speaker, if the truth be known, this bill has the potential to benefit two Liberal MLAs who own land and businesses in one of the likely target areas, which is Quinpool Road. Now, much of the potential tax advantage could, in fact, leave the province, using this example of Quinpool Road. In that business area, Mr. Speaker, 70% of those businesses are national or international companies. So for every dollar of tax advantage, only 30 cents will stay in the local economy. 30 cents in the local economy. That's not a very good, that's not good for business, Mr. Speaker. If there are decreases in the taxes paid by the commercial sector of property taxpayers, then that increases the tax burden on the owners of residential properties. So property taxes are already inequitable. They're based on capital assets, not income, which is the person's ability to pay. And this bill allows municipalities to reduce tax for some businesses and not others, which increases the inequity. There are more pressing issues, especially, for instance, affordable housing. So if the province wants to do something about the range of municipal powers, shouldn't it be focusing on that first? We've already heard today about the Bloomfield project and how they're not going to be going ahead with that as a public works project. And, Mr. Speaker, I have to say that there are so many people who are looking for affordable housing, not just in Halifax, but also right across the province. This bill doesn't actually address the need that's identified and may actually do more harm than good. And that's why our party, the NDP, has introduced our own bills dealing with the issues that we feel this bill does not address. It's why we feel that, for instance, where the province has put money into a project to secure affordable housing, then the affordable housing must be provided for at least 15 years, Mr. Speaker. This deals with situations where the province secures the affordable housing through a mortgage, and then the owner goes to the municipality to obtain a development agreement to allow a large building on a site, proclaiming that there will be affordable housing. But HRM takes the view that it cannot require affordable housing, so it does not include the obligation for it in the development agreement. So then the owner can build the building, pay off its mortgage with the province, and the result is no affordable housing, but in effect, an apartment building. So, Mr. Speaker, we feel that this is a much more pressing issue than the bill proposed here. Also, we feel that our second bill actually would plug the gap of a municipality not being able to negotiate for affordable housing as part of a development agreement. And I have to say that I tend to think that it can do this under existing legislation, but this bill, our bill, would make the power greater. It would make it clear, and it also offers a mechanism for enforcing the affordable housing obligation through requiring income data to be provided. So, Mr. Speaker, we feel that we have a bold vision for our capital city, for a better Halifax. And isn't that what we all want? So I'd also like to draw the members' attention once more to two significant issues that have happened in Halifax recently that we're hearing a lot of concerned citizens are contacting us about. And they've generated considerable outcry among Halifax, the city's residents. Now, at first glance, these two issues seem unconnected. One involves a large heritage residence on Yonge Avenue in Halifax's south end that has just been demolished. The other is a cluster of modest but sturdy homes in a vibrant North End neighborhood. Now, all of these residences, Mr. Speaker, are within a hair's breadth of demolition. And as I said, the one in the South End, unfortunately, is already gone. And underlying both of these issues is the city's apparent inability to control the issue of demolition permits and to effectively protect streetscapes and heritage spaces, and to ensure also affordable housing. Now, these problems are exacerbated by flaws within the HRM Charter and deficiencies with the application of the current heritage legislation. So, Mr. Speaker, as I said, a bold vision at the provincial level would actually help Halifax become the city that residents want and deserve. And as critic of community's culture and heritage, I really say we need to preserve our heritage, Mr. Speaker. People don't come to Halifax to see skyscrapers and modern apartment buildings. They come to see our history. They come to see one of the oldest provinces in Canada and see the way life used to be. Look at Montreal. Look at what they're doing in Montreal and what they've done there with the old city and then the new city. Quebec City, same thing. Vancouver, same thing. Toronto, Cabbagetown, all of these different areas that are unique, Mr. Speaker, and should remain unique because that's what makes them different from everywhere else in Canada or, in fact, in the world. So this bill that's before the House, again, it needs more consultation, it needs to go back, and it needs to be put off until for a further time, which is why I believe this hoist motion is a good one. The stated intention of the amendments to Bill 177 are to provide municipalities with a tool to encourage economic development growth by allowing them to create bylaws to phase in increases in commercial property tax based on assessments. And the amendments also allow for, quote, cancellation, reduction, or a refund of taxes paid as a result of the phasing in of the increase. The commercial property assessment process will remain unchanged. The amendments relate to letting municipalities set their own formula for phasing in increased property taxes over a period of time, up to 10 years. The stated intention is to encourage businesses to invest in their properties, resulting in higher assessed values, which then would not have an immediate impact on their property taxes due to the phased-in approach, and would encourage densification. They say it applies to areas with existing water and wastewater services. It applies to brownfields, which had previously used for industrial purposes or some commercial uses, and such land may have been contaminated, Mr. Speaker, and hereby with hazardous waste or pollution, or is feared to be such. So they say that the intention is also to have zones designated and linked to planning strategies, and that this bill was brought about in part by a request from HRM to be able to implement a system of rolling averages for commercial property tax. And it's said that the minister will review these bylaws developed by municipalities, and he or she has the ability to approve or disapprove on the basis of conflict with the law and provincial interest. However, as I've mentioned before, the provincial interest, now this is at issue, one of the grounds for the minister to refuse to approve a proposed bylaw, it really is not clearly defined, Mr. Speaker. It's anticipated that these amendments will result in municipalities seriously competing with each other, as I mentioned, for commercial development. So although the intention is to have these bylaws linked to planning strategies and applied to zones, the amendments actually state bylaws can apply to a district defined as one or more eligible properties. One or more eligible properties, which means preferential commercial property tax could be incorporated into the very site-specific development agreements. Now, this begs to again ask the question, is this government choosing winners and losers, even though they say they don't want to do that? In fact, this allows them to do so. The current wording of amendments does not clearly require the development districts to being established as part of a municipal planning strategy. So a suggested change would be changing 71C to read, it must establish in accordance with a municipal planning strategy one or more commercial development districts. And if this change is not made, then it may be possible for municipalities to designate development districts through bylaws only, which is a much less formal process. The Municipal Government Act is currently undergoing this review, as I said, and it's expected to be completed in the spring of 2017. So why the rush? I agree with my colleague here with the Conservatives. Why the rush? Why not? Why is the government making a number of these small amendments to the Act before this review is completed, as I've mentioned before? So if there are decreases in the taxes paid by the commercial sector of property taxpayers, then that increases the tax burden on the owners of residential properties. So government, again, picking winners and losers, creates two classes of commercial ownership, some with preferential property tax rates. And as I said before, Mr. Speaker, there are many more pressing issues, especially with affordable housing. If the province wants to do something about the range of municipal powers, why not focus on affordable housing, Mr. Speaker? And with that, I'll take my seat, and I believe one of our colleagues from the other party is about to speak. Thank you.